From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Montana bar and restaurant owners celebrating tonight as Governor Greg Gianforte removes COVID-19 capacity and curfew restrictions starting Friday. And President Donald Trump is now impeached for a second time. Tonight, the latest from Capitol Hill. And high winds roar across Montana, rolling major whitecaps on Flathead Lake, ripping off a roof on the campus of MSU Northern and making touchdown at Billings Logan International Airport a little tricky. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, a good day to hunker down inside so you don't blow away. High wind gusts tore through our region, picking up dirt, debris, and pretty much anything not strapped down. Take a look at this, a carport in central Billings that just would not stay put. Today's winds reaching speeds of up to 70 miles per hour in Billings. And of course in Livingston, even higher winds wreaking havoc. MTN's Cody Boyer brings us a first-hand look.
Donna, I am in Livingston near South P Street. If you just take a look behind me, you can see some of this damage that has been seen across the area. That car there virtually smashed. I talked with the owner of this car who did not want to go on camera. She said she just got out of that car right before that tree had crashed down earlier this afternoon. Take a look at these photos that were taken along P Street and in the surrounding area. So far from what you can see, that damage is extensive. On my way here, I did witness cars that had pulled over just for the high wind advisory, the severe winds that were in that area. Now, deputies, firefighters that are here in Park County say if you see any of this, you need to report that immediately to them if you can to get those crews to those areas. I've seen some utility crews out tonight working on getting trees off of power lines rather. And again, these situations, while they're mostly cleaned up and everyone is safe, the wind is still here tonight. The sheriff does put out a message, and the sheriff's department puts out a message to just watch yourselves and report anything that you might see. Reporting now in Park County, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Cody. Now, those are some images. I know Q2's Krista Rose is standing by in the Weather Center with even more and the latest on our wind.
Well, a lot was affected today, actually, and some skiing news. Red Lodge Mountain actually closed today because of the wind. Now, they are set to reopen tomorrow, but Showdown Mountain is closed tomorrow because of a power outage, which, of course, is caused by the wind. So just be aware if you're heading out to the slopes tomorrow over at Showdown that they will be closed. Wind damage around the region here in Billings. Andrea Lutz, one of our reporters and anchors, she actually snapped this photo at the Starbucks on Grand. The whole sign came down. And really, we've had some strong wind gusts today. Livingston, 75 miles per hour. Big Timber, 70. Sheridan, Wyoming, 58 mile per hour wind gusts. And then check this out. Hardin, 66 miles per hour. Laurel picked up a 71. And officially here in Billings, as of right now, 69 miles per hour. Here's our regional map. We still got a lot going on out there in terms of watches and warnings. Western Montana pretty much out of the fray. But here in eastern Montana, we are still dealing with strong winds. Most of those are pushing into the Dakotas, though, and will be overnight. But expect it to be at least breezy for a while. We'll tell you more about that in the full forecast coming up in just a few.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. Well, tonight in Muscle Shoals County, fire crews are fighting fast-moving flames east of Roundup. Crews say they have been able to get a dozer line around the fire at this hour. Now, the fire in the North Delphia Road area is largely wind-fueled and broke out earlier this afternoon. The Muscle Shoals County authorities asking residents stay clear of the scene and expect it to burn well into tomorrow. Well, by noon tomorrow, western Montana winds will die down, but here's a quick look at the damage done today. Over in Missoula, fallen trees brought out both fire and police crews as those trees entangled in power lines, wiping out electricity to local homes. And check this out, this video from Flathead Lake where the waves were rolling today near Finley Point and Woods Bay. Flathead Electric Co-op reports winds knocked out power to more than 13,000 people today. And in the Helena area, wind ripped off one family's roof this afternoon, scattering debris across the street. Thousands of residents also lost power across that region. Well, there's so much damage and so many outages. Northwestern Energy cannot keep up with its online outage map. Spokesperson Jody Black tells Q2 tonight that the team is working to restore the app. She also says if you see low-hanging power lines or lines down, please call or report it on Northwestern's website. Well, come Friday, statewide COVID-19 restrictions on capacity and operating hours and bars and restaurants are no more. Today, Governor Greg Gianforte announced the big change in directives. But as MTN's Jonathan Ambarian explains, this move does not mean immediate changes in all parts of Montana.
Governor Greg Gianforte says his goals were to make state directives on COVID-19 simpler and easier to understand, and to remove what he saw as arbitrary restrictions on businesses.
These new directives are clear. They are practical. They are common sense.
Gianforte's updated directive will take effect Friday morning. It removes the previous administration's requirement that bars, restaurants, breweries, and casinos operate at 50% capacity and close by 10 p.m. However, this change won't override local health boards that have adopted their own capacity or hour restrictions. Gianforte said he consulted with health leaders, businesses, and others before making his decision.
We can reduce the burden on our small business owners while simultaneously protecting the health of Montana workers and customers. These two are not mutually exclusive.
The new directive also removes the specific limit on the size of gatherings. It says public events should be managed in a way that meets CDC guidelines on things like social distancing. Gianforte said about 42,000 Montanans have received their first doses of COVID vaccine, and that pharmacies expect to have vaccines to 97% of long-term care facilities by the end of the month.
This is the path to the day when we can take off our mask, throw it in the trash, and go on with our lives in a safe manner. And I know all of us want to get to that point, and I hope it comes soon.
Gianforte said he's pleased that the federal government now says people 65 and older can be vaccinated, but that he's not going to make any immediate changes to his plan, which calls for people 70 and older in Montana to be vaccinated first. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Thanks, Jonathan. Now, Gianforte says the statewide mask mandate will remain in place until more people have been vaccinated and businesses and nonprofits have liability protections. Well, today's new directive will change things here in Yellowstone County. Tonight, Q2's David J. brings us initial reaction.
The Montana Brewing Company will soon make the change from half capacity and limited hours.
Going back to full occupancy, we are still going to be strongly focused on cleaning. Employees will still be wearing masks. We're going to make sure that everybody feels safe and when they come in here. So all of the same cleaning practices that we've done since day one and following all the same sanitation guidelines.
It will be back to full capacity and a later closing time.
We're late night here, especially over on the Hooligans side. Hooligans is definitely a later night bar. We're going to see a lot more business.
Management says the lifting of restrictions will be good for the Brew Pub, Hooligans, and the rest of downtown Billings.
Even though they're competitors, we support all small local businesses. We want everybody to be successful. An opportunity for us is also an opportunity for them. We're all very excited. Things are going to get back to normal really quick in the next coming weeks.
When the bar closes on Thursday, they'll get ready for Friday.
Tables and everything to kind of go back to how it used to look in here. We've kind of been under these restrictions for about 9 months now, so it'll be kind of a little bit of a learning curve to get back to somewhat normal, but we'll get bar seating back over at Hooligans. We'll get those bar stools back, which is great. We're gonna have more tables, more places to sit for people in there. Same with over here, it'll be better. We won't have to force people to sit on a wait anymore. So I think it's gonna be good all around. It's great. Yeah, mentally preparing. It's going to be good.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, David. And Lehman says this will help employees with more hours and more chances for tips. Well, at this hour, Billings COVID-19 vaccines, or Montana healthcare authorities report another 10 more COVID-19 related deaths today. 1 victim in each Yellowstone and Bighorn counties and 2 in Roosevelt County. The total deaths across the state has reached 1,077. Active cases are hovering right around 4,800 and more than 82,000 Montanans have recovered. Well, here in Billings, COVID-19 vaccines are making their way to long-term care facilities. Q2's Mitch Legge stopped in at Highgate Senior Living today, where there's now hope for residents who've been isolated for months.
And you're all done.
I didn't have to pass out or anything.
Nothing.
Residents at Highgate Senior Living in Billings received their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine on Wednesday. Of 82 residents and 70 staff members, most of them agreed to get the Pfizer vaccine that was administered by pharmacists from Walgreens.
I have the attitude that if it's going to help me, I have to do it. I can't be boo-hooing and screaming or swearing or anything because it's something that Highgate is doing to keep us safe, and we want to keep them safe.
Long-term care residents like Flynn have had a tough year with the pandemic, being locked in their rooms for a majority of last year with no in-person visits. Highgate staff said the vaccine provided a much-needed dose of hope to the residents.
Yesterday we got to go room to room and tell the residents what time their vaccine was, and to see some of them get so emotional that this is finally being offered and that they might see their families and their friends, and they're, like Margie said, they're so thankful that we're all getting it too and promoting it to the team, because we know that it's going to keep them safe and we trust it.
For months, residents were communicating with their loved ones through video calls. Now, with enhanced COVID screening and no active COVID cases, staff were able to open up the dining room for meals and small group activities last month.
And we have just seen our residents perk up, and they're happy and they're excited, and it's neat to see them making those connections again.
Friends and family are still barred from entering the Highgate facility, but as more and more of the community get their COVID shot, the more likely it becomes for long-term care residents to be once again hugged by their grandkids. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Now, Highgate also has locations in Great Falls and Bozeman. The first round of vaccination clinics have already been done at those facilities. Well, a number of Republicans joined Democrats today to impeach President Trump for a historic second time, this time for inciting the violent storming of the U.S. Capitol that stunned the nation and the world. Now, the impeachment seeks President Trump's immediate removal from office and to disqualify him from holding office again. Skylar Henry is at the Capitol with the latest.
The ayes are 232. The nays are 197.
The House voted to impeach President Trump on a single charge of incitement of insurrection for last week's deadly rampage at the Capitol. The historic vote marks the first time in U.S. history a president has been impeached twice.
The danger is too great. We must impeach.
Defend this Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, including Donald J. Trump.
While 10 Republicans broke with President Trump voting to impeach, most stood by him.
He specifically told the crowd to protest peacefully and patriotically, and the vast majority of them did.
Instead of stopping the Trump train, his movement will grow stronger, for you will have made him a martyr.
Amid threats in the days ahead of next Wednesday's inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden, the National Guard is mobilizing up to 20,000 troops around Washington, D.C.
No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence.
Without mentioning the impeachment, President Trump condemned the Capitol riot in a new White House video, but did not take responsibility for it.
Exactly when the president's Senate trial will begin remains unclear.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will not use emergency powers to bring the Senate back from recess before next Tuesday. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has already named 9 impeachment managers who will serve as prosecutors in the trial.
Today, in a bipartisan way, the House demonstrated that no one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
To convict, 17 Senate Republicans would need to vote against President Trump. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In a statement, President-elect Joe Biden said, in part, today the members of the House of Representatives exercised the power granted to them under our Constitution and voted to impeach and hold the president accountable. It was a bipartisan vote cast by members who followed the Constitution and their conscience. Well, on a party line vote with Republicans in favor, the Montana House on Wednesday endorsed a bill to allow people to carry firearms on college campuses across the state. It also removes other prohibitions on carrying concealed weapons in certain places. The House voted 67 to 33 to endorse House Bill 102, setting up a final binding vote on Thursday. Now, the State Board of Regents currently prohibits firearms on state college campuses. This bill would block that prohibition. The sponsor of the bill, Republican Seth Bergley of Joliet, said it still allows private property owners and businesses to ban firearms on their property or premises. But he says the bill's main purpose is to enhance safety by expanding the ability of law-abiding citizens to carry weapons to protect themselves. Democratic Representative Jim Keene of Butte predicts it will lead to more gunshot injuries and deaths and urged members to oppose the bill.
When those issues come up, and those things happen, who holds us accountable for those things? No one. No one holds us accountable because the bill is a dangerous precedent, and we'll probably see more of them this session.
The reality of a good guy with a gun stopping an attack is a thing. I would challenge any member of this body to find me a mass shooting where the shooter was engaged by an individual with a firearm and then continued on to kill multiple people. It doesn't exist.
Still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news on Q2, the nation's best wheat is now up for debate. In tonight's Montana Ag Report, we let you know how you can enter the contest. And tonight in sports, the co-defending state champs face off on the court. We'll have the high-flying highlights in just a bit.